Welcome to episode 1 of the 4 Days That Changed Everything, a 4-episode mini-series where we are walking through the days that led up to Easter. And today I'm so excited to press into Passover Thursday, the Thursday before Easter, and all that Jesus had to share with his followers that day. It was just before the Passover festival, and Jesus knew that the hour had come for him to leave the world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. And so today, Thursday, the Thursday before Easter, is the festival of Passover. And the festival of Passover is the time in the Jewish calendar when the Jewish people would pause to remember and celebrate that God had rescued them from slavery out of Egypt. It was the defining moment in Israel's history, the moment that God had rescued them. And so every year they paused to celebrate that. And the main way they did that was by eating the Passover meal. And so what would happen is you would gather together with your closest friends, your family, your loved ones, and you would eat this meal to celebrate and remember what God had done. And so on this Thursday, the Thursday before Easter, Jesus gathered his followers, the 12 disciples, the 12 followers who were closest to him, and they gathered together to eat this Passover meal. And now this probably wasn't the first time that they'd eaten the Passover meal together, but I can promise you this, it was the most important. You see, Jesus knew that in just a few short hours, just a few hours after they finished eating this meal together, that he would be arrested, he would be put on trial, and ultimately, that he would be put to death. Jesus knew that these few hours, these final few moments that he shared with his followers after this meal would be the final chance he had to impart his wisdom, to impart his encouragement, to teach them the most important things that he would want them to remember. And now I don't know if you've given much thought to what you would want your final words to someone to be before you never saw them again, but it's actually something that I spend a lot of time thinking about. In fact, it's the reason that every time I get ready to leave my house, I make sure to tell Sarah, my wife, that I love her. I don't want to leave the door. I don't want to go out without telling her that. Why? Because in case I were to be abducted by aliens or something crazy were to happen to me on the way to work or to the grocery store, I want to make sure that she hears the most important thing that I can say to her, that I love her. You see, if that was the last thing I say to her, whatever it is, it's gonna stick with her. The last words you share with someone are what they're going to remember you by. And so for Sarah, I want to make sure it's that she knows that I love her. And this is the situation that Jesus found himself in with his followers as they gathered together to eat this Passover meal. He knew that this was his final opportunity, his last chance to give them the most important things, to teach them the most important things they needed to know about him, about how to follow him, about how to live life in a way that honors him. He knew this was going to be the moment. These were going to be the things that they would remember him by even after his death. And so he made sure to share the most important things. And this story, this time that Jesus spent with his followers, it's recorded in the book of John in chapters 13 through 17. And I would really encourage you to read those. There's so much good stuff in there. We see Jesus humbly loving and serving his followers. We see the encouragement that he gave them, the challenges that he gave them. We see the way that he prayed over them, how he even prayed for you and for me. But right now, what I really want to do is press in to the core central truth that he gave them. The very core central message that Jesus gave his followers in the moments before his death, because it's so, so important. Love one another and remain in me. The core truth of Jesus' final message to his followers was love one another and remain in me. Check this out. In John chapter 13, verses 34 and 35, it says, "A new command I give you," and this is Jesus speaking, "a new command I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another." Part one of Jesus' final instructions, his final message to his followers, was love one another. In fact, Jesus said this is the most important thing, that you love one another. This is the defining marker of someone who's following me. In fact, this is the way that people will know that you're one of my followers, is whether or not you love one another. Jesus told his followers that love is the most important thing. So here's what my question is today. My question for you is, are you known for your love? Is love what you're known for? If I were to ask your sister how she would describe you, would she say, man, they're so loving? What about if I asked a coach? If I asked your coach how they would describe you, would they say, wow, they're so loving? What about if I asked your parents, or if I asked a teacher, or if I asked your friends, would they say they're so loving? Is that the way that they would describe you? And now I don't ask this question to shame you or to make you feel bad or anything like that, but it's just an honest question. Is love what you're known for? Jesus taught his followers, he said the most important thing, love one another, because that's how people are going to know that you're one of my followers. That's the defining mark. So are you known for your love? Now, Zach, love is hard. It's hard to love my sister. How am I supposed to love my sister when she's annoying me? It's so hard to love my parents when they're all over my case. It's hard to love my teammates when they're not pulling their weight. It's hard to love my teacher. How am I supposed to love even my friends? That's even hard. Love is hard, Zach. Yeah, it is. I get it. And the reality is so did Jesus. In fact, moments after he said this, just a few short hours after Jesus told his followers the most important thing is to love one another, he would be nailed to a cross. He would lay down his life and die for the people that he loved. Jesus knew that love is costly, and yet he still chose to say, love one another. I know that love is hard. I know that it can be difficult to do, but Jesus says that the most important thing is love one another. So are you marked by love? Now, before you get frustrated with me, before you say, Zach, you're asking too much, Jesus is asking too much here, let me remind you that Jesus' statement to his followers, his final message, was two parts. The first part is love one another, but it doesn't end there. He says, love one another and stay connected with me. In John chapter 15, verse 5, he says, I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. I am the vine, you are the branches. Jesus gives us a little word picture here, and I think it's really important. Think about a grapevine. Think about a vineyard of grapes in full bloom. Man, when it's grape season, those branches are weighted down with beautiful, delicious grapes, and it's incredible. But what good is a branch if it were cut off from the vine and tossed down in the woods? Are you going to find any grapes on that branch? No, of course not. Because while the branches hold all the fruit, the only way the branches can bear fruit is if they're connected to the vine. That's where they get their nutrients. That's where they get their life. That's where they get their ability to bear fruit. A branch that's been cut off from the vine is no longer of any use. And Jesus tells us that we are branches, that he is the vine. He tells us that our connection with him is what defines our ability to bear fruit. If we're connected with him, if we have a growing faith, if we have a deep relationship with him, then we're going to bear fruit. We're going to love well. We're going to be known for our love. But if we're disconnected from him, just like a branch that's been disconnected from the vine, we're going to dry up. We're going to wither. We're not going to bear fruit. So my second question for you today is, are you connected with Jesus? Are you staying connected with Jesus? Are you rooting your life in him? Are you growing in your faith with him? Are you spending time with him? Or are you trying to bear fruit on your own? Jesus tells his followers, hey, stay connected with me because I'm the source of your life. I'm the source of your ability to bear fruit. And if you get disconnected from me, you're not going to bear fruit and you're not going to experience full life. So are you connected with Jesus? On Thursday, 4 days before Easter, as they celebrated the Passover meal, Jesus had an opportunity. He knew that in a few short hours, he would lay down his life. And so in this moment, he wanted to share with his followers the most important things, the things that he wanted them to remember even after he was gone. And his message can be boiled down to two simple ideas. Love one another and stay connected with me. And so today, are you known for your love? Do people look at you and say, wow, they are a follower of Jesus because they love people so well? Are you staying connected with Jesus? Are you rooting your life in him? Are you spending time with him? Are you, as the branch, connected to the vine? Are you loving people? And are you staying connected with Jesus? I don't know what your answer is, but I do know this. If you're not, today is a perfect day to start. There's no time like now, the Thursday before Easter, for you to start loving people, for you to get connected with Jesus. Today can be the day that for the first time in your life, you get connected with Jesus by putting your faith and trust in him. Today can be the day that you decide to stay connected with Jesus, to spend time with him, to cultivate a relationship with him. Today can be the day that you start to bear fruit, that you start to love others and be known for your love. There's no better day to start than today. Jesus taught his followers to stay connected with him and to love others. So let's begin doing that now. We'll see you tomorrow for episode 2.